Our conversation now will go into matters of justice, matters of dialogue, and matters of political parties and opposition unity. Martha Karua, Senior Counsel, Party Leader, the People's Liberation Party, is our guest. Martha, good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Always a pleasure seeing
morning.
you. Mario.
Yes.
Karibu sana.
Asante.
As you know, we have a lot to discuss in a very short time, so I'll get straight into Jano giving you the day's quote, and let's see what you think of it.
Right. This quote was said in the year 1900, 125 years ago today, July 23rd, by Bishop Alexander Walters. This was the opening speech for the first Pan-African conference, which was held at Westminster Town Hall in London, marking the first formal global gathering. Black leaders, thinkers, and activists from different parts of the world, from Africa, Caribbean, US, Europe. And he said, "We are determined to protest forever against oppression, even though it may assume the garb of law or decency."
I totally connect with that, and that's why we say never surrender to oppression. And that's what I would ask fellow Kenyans, never to surrender to oppression. Yes.
Even when it's disguised as something respectable.
Yes, yes.
You don't surrender.
Which year was this again, Jano?
1900, today.
1900. 125 years ago.
Today. July 23rd.
What was said then
It's still true now.
still true now.
Yeah?
And of course was still true 1,000 years prior. Oh my God.
But yeah, this was the first convening of its kind. I want to ask Senior Counsel something. The other day in the US, you addressed an audience and you started by saying, "I was called into politics by times like this."
Yeah.
What times are these that we're living in? What did you mean by that?
Times of oppressive, authoritarian regime, time when the state is trying to encroach on everything that you do. Times when the environment in which you exist, in which you work out a living, is so oppressive that you can hardly breathe. And I have seen that the same is happening. And I believe the Gen Zs have been called to activism by times like this. Yes.
Why? You know, Martha, there's a story on page 4 of the Daily Nation today. The state will prefer terror-related charges against 7 young people arrested in Machakos County during the Sabasaba demonstrations. The 6 men and 1 woman were rearrested at the Kithimani in Machakos yesterday, soon after the prosecution dropped arson and malicious damage charges against them. They're expected to be charged at the Kahawa Law Courts this morning. They'll be joining a growing list of people slapped with terrorism-related charges following the demonstrations of June 25th and July 7th. Others are people who were charged over the arson that took place at a police station in Homa Bay. They were initially charged with arson and malicious damage to property. The charges were amended as the state included a terrorism-related charge, and these are the ones who at the same time, Kahawa Law Court Senior Principal Magistrate Richard Koech rejected an application by the prosecution to deny bail for 8 people linked to the July 3rd arson attack at Mawego Police Station in Homa Bay. So initially, even those ones from Mawego had been charged with arson. The state added the terrorism-related charge, brought them to Kahawa. The magistrate said, "No, I'm not holding them. I'm actually granting them bail." And they were granted personal bail, and they were told, "You have got to be within the vicinity of Homa Bay, but do not go anywhere close to Mawego Police Station," and so on and so forth. Many others are facing these ones, including Manyata MP John Mukunji, who has even now gone to court to challenge the state over the introduction of these terrorism-related charges. We are still confused on this show. We're wondering, terrorism ilingia wapi?
I think this is abuse of the legal process by the rogue KK regime. No wonder yesterday, was it yesterday, day before yesterday, the DPP reduced the charges against Boniface Mwangi from terrorism to charges under the Firearms Act. My call to the DPP is that you have to be seen to be even-handed. In all these cases arising from the lawful expression of dissent by the people of Kenya on Sabasaba, on the commemoration of 25th of June this year, all the charges have to be brought against the appropriate legislation. We even question those charges anyway, because the goons seen on the media, on social media, some of them not hiding their faces, have not been charged. Goons walking with the police. It is activists for human rights defenders who are being terrorized by the state with terrorism charges. The KK regime, rogues regime, has become a terror to the people of Kenya, and they are the proper terrorists. It is even debatable whether all those charged actually participated in any crime. Yeah.
Is there any recourse for people who are being charged again with terrorism, with arson, with so many things? And like you said, some of them may not have even participated, but should we get to a point where charges are dismissed or dropped, is there any recourse? Because that is damage, and time, bail and bond, all those things are damaging to your reputation as well. How can we find recourse for them?
They can sue the state for malicious prosecution, but who wants to stay in custody so that you sue for malicious prosecution? Who wants to be harassed by baseless charges? Look at a person from all the way Homa Bay being brought to the terrorism court, anti-terrorism court. Look at a person from Mwingi, Machakos, or Makueni being brought for those charges, or even a person in Nairobi. The fact that you're taken there is terror in itself. And I would say well done to the magistrate in Homa Bay who granted bail. And in the case of Boniface Mwangi, the state did not oppose bail. The Kahawa court has to see that as an example when dealing with the other cases of suspects. And by the way, those charges are bailable. And therefore, especially noting they relate to the expression of dissent by citizens, those citizens should be bailed. And in view of the behavior of the police of associating with state-backed militias, the court ought to take judicial notice and act appropriately.
From a judicial perspective as well, there's been questions around the bail and bond terms, some of them being too expensive for a lot of the young people that have been arrested. And we've had the conversation on the show. It is a range, but we do wonder how then the courts can help in getting justice for young people, especially because a lot of people are picked up just on the road on a Mandamano day. You find yourself facing terror charges, arson charges. Bail is 50 to 100,000 shillings.
Even 200.
Even 200, which essentially imprisons you if you're not able to afford it.
Actually, it's now the judiciary taking turn to rain terror on the people. The judiciary should not behave as though it is the executive. They are sometimes taking a stand which makes them look more executive than the executive. And I saw the judiciary registrar joining issue with people criticizing the judiciary. And I want to tell her, judiciary is not above criticism. And the people of Kenya will continue criticizing and congratulating the judiciary as appropriate. How on earth do you issue bail of 200,000 or 50,000 on minor charges related to protests, and you yourself criminalizing expression of dissent? Aren't you now acting as a recruit from the appearances? Because justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done. So there are acts of the judiciary which make it look like a junior arm of government. And it is them, it's by your behavior as the judiciary that you keep your respect and your admiration from the people, not by trying to gag us. We shall continue criticizing you, and I invite Kenyans to express themselves freely. in relation to the judiciary.
What about in the case of, so some of them are minor charges, but from a legal perspective, as a judge, when you are in court and people are brought in on charges of terrorism or arson or what was the other one? There's one more.
Malicious damage.
Malicious damage, things like that. And then your bail and bond terms are, you know, they're set out legally. Then how do we balance those things now? Because the charges are serious as well.
A court is supposed to weigh the circumstances of each case. And I am sure in all those cases, the lawyers for the accused persons, most of them members of the, not all of them members of the Law Society, are protesting and saying these are people being dragged to the court on the basis of their participation in the protests or having been vocal previously. There are people, by the way, who never even participated in the protests, but they are known members either of the opposition or are human rights defenders. So the court must take into account all those circumstances and must also look even at the ages of the accused persons. You can give other conditions, like the Homa Bay court did. Don't go near that station. You can even give conditions for reporting to the authorities, but you cannot give bail and by the amount you set, actually withdraw it. That is the complaint. Yeah.
I'd like to draw direct attention to the DPP.
Yeah.
The Director of Public Prosecution is an office established under Article 157 of the Constitution, and 157(9) says, no, 10, the Director of Public Prosecution shall not require the consent of any person or authority for the commencement of criminal proceedings, and in the exercise of his or her powers or functions shall not be under the direction or control of any person or authority. Number one.
Yeah.
Which means that when the DPP is going to court and coming up with charges of terrorism, we are assuming here that he is not under any coercion of any authority, right? Then 11 says, in exercising the powers conferred by this article, the Director of Public Prosecutions shall have regard to the public interest, the interests of the administration of justice, and the need to prevent and avoid abuse of the legal process. 10 and 11, Martha.
That is why I started by saying the ball is in the court of the DPP. He must be seen to be even-handed. I am aware that police are rushing to court without necessarily taking the files to the DPP. The DPP must assert himself. He's in charge of prosecutions in Kenya. Police cannot do his work. He therefore must communicate and make them know that he has offices everywhere. The charges must be reviewed by his office. And if he has, in one case, reviewed the charges and brought charges under the Firearms Act instead of terrorism, which had been announced by DCI as though they are the DPP. They had taken over the role of the DPP. I believe in most of the other cases, it is the DCI. So DPP, we need to see you in action. We need to see you exercise full authority of your office, not the DCI exercising it on your behalf. And we need to see even-handedness. All cases related to the protests are not terrorism charges, and you already have demonstrated that. So come on, let's see action on the other cases.
Yeah. We'll transition to opposition politics in a moment, but just from listening to you, and I'm trying to think about what the most urgent, sort of like concrete legal fixes you think. Which ones you think are most urgent right now, whether it's oversight of security agencies, whether it's a tighter definition of the Prevention of Terrorism Act to restore public trust, which is the most urgent legal fix right now?
None. It's our behavior. Just a turnaround of how we behave and act. The firmness from the office of the DPP will stop this. I remember other charges previously where people have been charged because they have made fun of Dr. William Ruto on Twitter, etc., etc. And the DPP has withdrawn the charges. and the courts have rejected the charges moved by the defense. All we need is the people holding positions of authority to act in the best interest of the country, to act with honesty, and to follow the law strictly. No amount of fixing the law will fix moral infirmity in those exercising authority of the office. Yeah.
It's our approach.
It's how we look at things, how we treat things. There have been calls, Martha, for dialogue. Like, let's temper down emotions. Let's hold off, and let's maybe seek ways of having dialogue. Raila Odinga has come out strongly to say, let's actually have some intergenerational dialogue. And he has even come up with a proposal on how this can be organized, how it can be held, how it can be conducted. We had an interview with him over the weekend with NTV's Ibrahim Karanja. Let's first listen to what he said, and then you can respond to that.
I propose an inclusive, intergenerational, national conclave to hear our people across all divides and come up with an irreducible reforms and changes necessary to take the country forward. I propose that the country urgently returns to the agenda of comprehensive police reforms, focusing on enhancing accountability, transparency, and improving the police-to-people relationship. That the conclave I envisage comes up with better and sustainable ways for addressing transparency, accountability, and impunity, especially with regard to corruption, and ensuring that leaders are held accountable for their actions. The proceeds of the national dialogue be subjected to a referendum.
Actually, this was even before the interview on Sunday with Ibrahim Karanja. This was on Sabasaba Day, when he did not go for Sabasaba, as he had said he would go. What do you say? Dialogue?
Dialogue with the rogue KK regime is not an option. And I want to remind my friend, Right Honorable Raila Odinga, that he went for NADCO talks. Those days I was in Azimio, I was against the NADCO talks. They went ahead. They were supposed to be for 90 days. They dragged on for a year. The outcome was not pro-people. Other than seats for the big boys, there was nothing for the people. If you remember, the pressing issue then was cost of living, which has continued to soar. So NADCO became a pacifier to lie to the people that something is going on. Any other talks will be a pacifier because William Ruto does not approach the issues with honesty. It's lies, lies, and more lies. What we need today is adherence to the law. We have seen Lagat returning to work. We have not been given the result of the investigation. Yet, Albert Ojwang is dead because of a complaint by him, and we've already had the OCS Talam saying he called him and told him he be disciplined. Therefore, it is through his own orders to a junior that Albert Ojwang died. How on earth can he be returned to work? And what amendment to the law can cure that? It is the impunity of the KK regime which needs to be cured. The law is elaborate. If we had a parliament, that is sufficient to impeach the KK regime. And by the way, I heard all the way from Lobatse, Botswana. I first saw it on Twitter. Then I Googled the interview. And I heard Raila saying that he had talked to me, to Kalonzo, and I don't know to who else. I want to say, I am the one who called him in the beginning of July to pass a message, a personal message to him from a mutual contact. I then followed up that call, not now about the contact, but looking at what was happening. After Sabasaba, either on the 8th or the 9th, I called him again, this time to ask him a question. And I asked him as a person who has, throughout most of his life fought for Kenyans. How does his conscience sit with the continuous bloodletting by the KK regime? I told him I didn't want a discussion. I just wanted to leave it with him. Isn't it time for him to reconsider his support for the KK regime? Isn't it time for him to withdraw? And I reminded him that without him, the regime will crumble, that even Parliament would be able to sanction him, and I left it with him. He did mention that he was misunderstood about the conclave, but I did not entertain any discussion because I had just wanted to prick his conscience as a person who has previously fought for people's rights, and I left it there. I have not discussed with him the conclave. He did suggest that we should have a face-to-face meeting, and I told him I'm off to the US. I'm not in favor of a meeting at all over those matters because William Ruto will use it as a pacifier to pacify the people when the people get nothing, to consolidate and hit the people harder. If you look at the history from 2023, he has come back with more bloodletting than the first one. And his regime so far has killed over 200 people. Yeah? And we do not know the exact tally. What talk do you entertain with somebody whose boot is on the throat of Kenyans? All I was appealing to Raila is, please, and I'm telling him now through this show, withdraw your support. Stop the bloodletting. Kenyans will sort themselves out.
Let us come back after the break, just on that note, and delve into that and a few other matters. We are with Senior Counsel Martha Karua in studio. It's coming up to 7:30. We'll come back and continue this conversation and sample some of your feedback and questions that you might also have for her. We're back in just a bit.
Hey, mambo ni mengi. The comments are streaming in really quickly. And I would love to read all of them. Kikombe says, well in, Martha, mwambie conclave awachie Pope.
I was actually going to say that's the last place I heard of the word.
Yeah, same. And we said conclave's also shrouded in secrecy.
Yes.
You know, we don't know what happens in there. We just see white smoke. Paul Bet Kipyegon says, how I wish Madam was the one in the CJ's position. Hiya. I pose this to Martha. What is your comment or plan on claims of KK to steal votes for Ruto? That's Paul Maina, aka Staki Mapepe. There's been a few MPs who have talked about, kama zitatosha tutaongeza. Kikombe again, and a few others just saying thank you and of course appreciating your work, Martha. But let's get into that. There's been a few leaders who have publicly said, kama votes hazitatosha tutaongeza. There was is she from Wajir? Yes. The woman rep for Wajir. And there was someone else over the last few weeks who has said more or less the same thing.
Now, I think that this is meant to psychologically batter Kenyans. Ataongeza tukiwa wapi sisi wa Kenya. Wherever you will be, wherever I'll be, this is the election that will not be rigged. And we have said, even if Ruto himself becomes the chairman of the election as well as a contestant, even if he appoints members of his household as commissioners or returning officers, tutakuwa hapo bumper to bumper, and they will not be able to rig. As Kenyans, let us all join together and vote. Register as voters, vote, and most importantly, guard the vote. This one election will not be rigged. It will be better than the 2002 when Kanu was not able to rig.
When you say tutakuwa hapo bumper kwa bumper, what exactly is that?
Guarding the votes. It means people should vote, stay around, people should volunteer to safeguard with information. And by the way, the United Opposition is having a People's IEBC, which will be unveiled soon. The network that will be laid by the people's body will be such that it is not only on election day, throughout the process, because elections are a process, not an event. We shall be able to point out, to safeguard, not just to react, to also bring out what should be done and what is our expectation.
Does the party's IEBC, the People's IEBC, compromise the confidence of people in the IEBC? It kind of already casts doubt up front, and maybe sort of seen as something that's even more divisive than really for people.
Absolutely not. There is the KK side, and there is the United Opposition side. Already we are two sides, and the Constitution clearly says so, that it is multi-party politics. So we will have our own mechanism of tracking, of forecasting, of warning the people. We will be able to safeguard. What else can you do if you are with a thieving regime that chest thumps and whose members are clearly telling us that they're going to rig? If it is meant to be psychological warfare, we'll be better than that. We will return fire for fire, but we will also lay mechanisms to prevent. Don't you dare, you will find us there.
Do you have confidence in the IEBC?
Not exactly, but let it be. And I have said, even if Ruto took over to be chair and members of his family became the commissioners, we will still defeat him. This one he can't, because a majority of Kenyans want him out.
I'm thinking through the People's IEBC again.
Yeah.
What does that look like? One, I would like to get the structure, because ILOC does certify people to be election observers, and elections have been certified as final at the polling station. So in a sense, we are all the People's IEBC, and we can all track, right, and be able to have the information from polling stations such that Bomas is tallying. That's it. It's announcing center. So I'm trying to see what's the difference between that and the People's IEBC.
Even agents of candidates are like the candidates sort of safeguard. So nothing wrong with that, with us having an organized body at the top and to trickle down as far as we want as a united opposition. It's a mechanism to guide us, because we are dealing with an authoritarian, thieving, chest-thumping regime that confirms it will steal the elections. You heard Dr. William Ruto, and without public participation, saying that they were going to issue ID cards to refugees. Nothing wrong with that. There is a principle of integration, but you must, under the Kenyan Constitution, throw it to the people for public participation, and so that we know how it is going to be done to prevent unauthorized other people undeserving being given the IDs.
Please hold your thought just for 1 second. We have a caller on the line, Caxton from Butere. Good morning, Caxton.
Morning to you.
What's your question for Senior Counsel Martha?
Yes, say hi to Mheshimiwa.
Hi.
Yeah. What I would like to see, Mheshimiwa, I would like to see the kind of formation you people had. The kind of formation you people had when you kicked out Kanu. Kanu had lots of money, but then you were so organized that Kanu, despite dishing out all that money, it never succeeded and it went home. I mean, just sit down, organize yourself. You know what is known as Bugodweki, that lonely buffalo. It is there in the forest. So you should know on how to walk in the forest. This is what we actually see. I remember you very well. Professor Kivuda Kibwana is there. Maina Kamande also, I saw him. Organize yourself as when you organize and used to sit down with Kibaki. You are a really force, and it worked.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
thank you, Caxton.
I wish you well. Just tell the people not to respond. Keep on responding. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
I want to agree with him, but also caution those among our ranks to stop leaking things that have not been agreed, lineups, I'm seeing a lineup. If any proposals by our technical team has not been debated by the principals, it is not a truth. If there are such proposals, and I wouldn't know because nothing has been tabled, to stop giving people positions and all that, to just leave it, to leave the process, you know. But yes, we can be organized, and we are organizing ourselves. And like I've said, even if Ruto and his household are the commissioners, this time round, we will get you out. But I invite Kenyans to partner with us, Kenyans of goodwill. We cannot do it alone. We need you.
I've got questions of what really unites you when you call yourselves the united opposition, beyond the desire to see Ruto out of State House. What else? What else brings you together?
We not only want Ruto and his entire regime to go, we also want a transformed Kenya. Therefore, there are several things going on with our technical teams. There is a coalition building team, which will bring us the likely scenarios. There is a governance team, because what is wrong with Kenya is matters governance. Failing to adhere to the rule of law, corruption, all those things are matters governance. And we, this governance team, will also give us a transformative agenda, which we then can discuss with Kenyans, so that we are not only saying Ruto and his team out, we are saying this is what we would do for Kenya. But individually, of course, we can be able to say so. Like I will tell you that a Karua administration will adhere to the rule of law, have good governance. And it means your rights will not only be respected, but protected. It will have a just economy, which works for everyone, not just for a few. An economy that does not strain the resources available by over-borrowing from our banks and leaving the private sector either without money to borrow or making it expensive for them because the regime is paying more. So we know what we would want to do for Kenyans. We want to see not a fund that gives money that cannot be of use to the youth, but support for startups that helps them to grow to become something. We want to see serious investment in the SME sector. I keep saying that SMEs are our largest sector cumulatively, 7.4 enterprises. Those are the ones that stay with us. They never go anywhere. They close and they start again because they invest only in Kenya. Those are the ones we should be giving tax holidays. We should be giving support for them to grow. They are the ones who, at the click of a button, would grow jobs. If each one of them expanded by 2 jobs, you'd have 15 million jobs on the table. So whereas it is good to attract foreign investments, let us not keep giving them priority and forgetting our most dependable, who are the SMEs put together.
Very well put, Martha.
Yeah.
And there are people who listen to that and say, this sounds like music to my ears. But I'm sure you've heard of many who have said, these same politicians have come and told us these same things over the many years. They don't trust people who've been in the system at any point. And they say, fagia wote. They say, look at this united opposition. Some were ministers last year. Some were ministers in the latter years of the Uhuru Kenyatta administration. They served together. They just are from the same basket. No difference at all. What do you tell them?
Kenyans are from the same basket, no difference at all. Voting in knowingly corrupt, murderous leaders. In other words, Kenyans, the politicians are part of Kenyans, and we all have sinned. Look at each individual with their track record. I am proud to have been a member of the Kibaki government. It did bring transformation. It promised you free education, was given in the first day. It promised you a revival of the economy. It happened. Mistakes did occur later, but I will tell you, I was given water. I transformed water. I was in charge of justice during very troubling moments. We delivered the Constitution. Although by then I had resigned, I laid the framework. And I went and actively in Parliament along with others, delivered. So there's many ways we can show you who can deliver, who can't. Assess each one of us. And that's why we have a large menu. We will not empty Kenya of citizens to bring new citizens. You will also not get all fresh faces. We are all Kenyans. We've been part of this. Let everybody stand by their record.
And be judged by their record.
I am ready to account on my record. And I think that is where we should be.
Okay.
Look at Kenyans, the way they elected the last elections. Look at, and I'm not just talking about the presidency. Look at Parliament. Look at the county assemblies, where citizens treated elections, in some cases as a joke, and elected people who have had oppressive behavior towards them, people who have cases of not having integrity, economic crime cases, people who have assaulted others. You know, you elect them to Parliament. This is something we must watch out as we head to the next elections. Please treat your vote as a matter of life and death.
Yeah, that's important.
Your vote will decide whether you and the people around you, your loved ones, get health. Your vote will decide whether your children or your grandchildren, in cases of people my age, will get education. And by the way, a Martha Karua administration would make education free from nursery, which is ECD, to the highest level in public institutions, and health, quality health services from cradle to grave. You may ask, where will the money come from? The money voted, and all the money we are losing to corruption and outright theft and wasteful spending, we stop those leakages, we'll have more than enough to do that, to pay our debts.
Sorry, I was interrupting when you were making that point of your vote is a matter of life and death, which was pertinent. Very quickly want to ask about, some might also argue that there's fragmented support for young people in the united opposition, whether it's how they organize, whether it's, are they also part of the decision to have People's IEBC? I know when you were last year, you talked about, for your party in particular, a lot of the staff are young and Gen Z, and you kind of take that spirit. But some might also argue the united opposition, is it really integrating young voices? Is the support fully there or fragmented, as some might seem? Which then goes back to Eric's point where they're saying, is there anything different? Will young people really have that support?
There is support for young people across the parties, but I'm also saying to the young, you can also become our member by coming as an entity, so that there is a principle standing for the youth. I talked to one of the university people when we met in a social place, and I'm saying, where is the academia? Step up. Come as an entity, don't come as individuals. After all, who churns out better policies than the academia? When you have more, even civil society. I have actually said that we need a conversation, not a William Ruto KK conversation, a people's conversation, all those who want to see a positive transformation in Kenya. We need to sit together because people have various ideas on how we should do it, so that we have a Kenyan transformation agenda, which then, whichever formation becomes the front runner, everybody binds themselves that this is what we will follow. What is happening is so fundamental. The wrongs that against Kenyans are so fundamental. The violation of our constitution is so gross. We need to agree how to reset the country. And I believe that people will heed the call, come together, and sit together and do this.
Right. We have several by-elections coming up, hopefully very soon, in Bere, etc. And I think there'll be a litmus test for 2027 for sure. Does PLP have candidates in these by-elections?
Yes, we will be fielding candidates. But you have said it, it's a litmus test. We need in the opposition to look at what is happening, and I'm sure we will when the dates are given, so that we agree. How shall we harmonize so that we have a single candidate? This is an occasion to showcase. So I do hope moving forward that will be looked into. But to begin with, let every party put their candidates on ahead so that we can sit and then see which of the candidates will become the flag bearer. It's very, very important that in the coming elections, the opposition fields a single person for every seat, from MCA to presidency. We sometimes ignore other seats. Even if you elected the best president, they cannot come and run your county as governor. You will need a good MCA, good governor to make a county government. You will need a watchdog for the national government because humans are prone to err. So you must have a good women rep, a good senator, a good constituency MP. Fellow Kenyans, think critically before you cast your vote for all the 6 seats, not one.
I love that message. That's always a message that we keep, humming down here, that, we have to think about
if Eric could
how
have
we
it
are
plastered on
voting.
his forehead,
Yes.
he would
That's
plaster
an
it.
done for parliament.
Yes, yeah, he says all problems in Kenya start at Parliament Road. If he could plaster those on his forehead, he would do it.
Like every morning, it can be like the quote. Eric, what's your quote for today? All problems in this country start and end on Parliament Road. Martha, I've also said it, and we've had various debates on this show. I keep asking, is this the only option that we have? And I know those that are experienced in politics know how to play the game, and so they ran ahead and occupied this space of, so we have those that are in government, and then we are the opposition. And in fact, even the framing of your messaging, we are the united opposition, we are the opposition. I keep asking, are we sure that these are the option?
Absolutely not.
When I heard you talking this morning, you've said, even the youth, you can come as an entity. Come as an entity. Even the academia, you can come as an entity. It sounds like you own the table and you're inviting us to your table. And I'm saying, at what point did you decide that this is the table, Martha?
No, we don't own the table. I'm speaking as a member of the United Opposition. So anybody else can come and say, we have this formation, come we sit together. What matters is that all people of goodwill sit down together. And it doesn't have to be convened by the United Opposition. It can be convened by other quarters. Let's say if the religious convened. It can be convened by the civil society, the youth, if they like. So whoever convenes first, do not say, do you own it? Let's come together, see whether we can make a resolution that represents us together as Kenyans. It doesn't matter who started it. It will be owned by us.
There's the other side of this question also. We don't see a deliberate attempt at including youthful leadership in your conversations as the United Opposition. It's still the same names, the same faces. No new names, no new faces. Well, this country, Martha, has a majority of people who are younger, below 35 years old. When I look at what you're calling the United Opposition, the lineup is people who are over 50 years old. They are an absolute minority in this country.
Indeed. But if you go to our technical teams, you will find the people you're talking about, because the people you see are the leaders of the parties. And that is why you see me alone as a woman. I think we are now beginning to get very conscious of those limitations, and we will start showing a bigger group that is more representative of Kenyans. We will find a formula, not just for party leaders. Party leaders can be there and can have their own caucus and meeting, but the face of the United Opposition should represent Kenya, and that's food for thought. It's urgent, and it's something we've been discussing.
It's a work in progress.
Yes, yes.
I have a quick question. I hope we can both find time to ask. You just talked about as the only woman. Were you at the conference in Beijing 30 years ago? Were you part of the delegation?
Yes, I was.
You were?
I was.
So we're reflecting on 30 years since then.
Yes.
In many ways, it feels like we've repackaged patriarchy. It's new and improved. I wanted to get your thoughts on honoring the promises then.
The systems have repackaged patriarchy, and when we talk of Beijing, may I pay my respects to the fallen Phoebe Honorable Phoebe Asio, Honorable Catherine Nyamato, two great women who've been part of the women's movement, who died within hours of each other and who will be buried around the same time. We are very conscious of the Beijing Platform for Action, and yes, states in pretense of adhering to them have repackaged patriarchy, so that today's parliament, although it has over 70 women, they dance to the tunes, not of fellow women, to the tunes of the patriarchal leadership that we have in the country, in the National Assembly. They are not carrying on as women's messengers or women's amplifying the voice of the woman. Right. This is something we need to rethink. And for the women and people of Kenya, when it comes to election, elect independent women. Women who think for themselves, who do not wait to be told what to do. Women who will carry national issues on behalf of Kenyans and women's issues. Women who are unafraid to be called women's representatives. Not women who come on the women's ticket and they want the name changed from women, as if something is wrong, with being a woman. Right. If something is wrong, then apply to God in the next life to cover some.
Thank you, Honorable.
Do you have any room to ask a question?
That was the exact question I wanted to ask. But thank you so much, Honorable Martha Karua. And of course, we'll hold you to that this united opposition will be representative of Kenya, 51% women, 70% youth, right? We'll look into that, but thank you so much. Of course, the next HER Summit is happening in August from 20th to 22nd, actually. And we'll be looking at Beijing 30 years on. The wins, where we could have done more. 30 years on, it's a long time, but it's also a very short time. So we'll be looking at that and we'll tell you more about the next HER Summit, courtesy of the Nation Media Group. But for now, a big thank you to Senior Counsel Martha Karua, Asante Sana, and of course we'll be back in the next hour. Hashtag is Fixing the Nation NTV.
Thank you for having me. Lakini time yangu imeibiwa.
You'll be back. You will be back.